So try to steer clear of mock tests until the summer holidays prior to the autumn in which the test is being taken. It's normally autumn, can vary. I would say do get professional help, but of course I would say that. But my 5.5-year-old Inigo, not only can I not do his year 1 homework, but having been a professional tutor, I just decided that our father-son relationship would be vastly superior if I didn't get involved with the homework. It's pretty difficult properly tutoring your own children. You're putting a lot of strain on a relationship that should really be freed up for other things. So I would say, it doesn't have to be professional help that is being delivered by somebody else, but get some professional guidance on what you might do and how to guide your child. But sitting next to them with a pen and a pad, not going to make you hugely popular in my experience. So do some homework, get some professional help if the budget allows, and if you want to go down that route. Or you yourself get some advice on what you can do in a meaningful way at home. But it's important, I think, to use those skills and to use them with interesting things. The great thing about getting ready for these tests, because they're not content-based, is you can say to your child, right, well, what are you interested in? My son would be like, dinosaurs, okay? So then you get your tutor or you go and get lots of materials around dinosaurs. You make sure that the maths exercises have got examples about T-Rexes in them and pictures of stuff like that. Right? You make it as entertaining as possible, because what follows is not entertaining at all. All right? So you engage them, you make sure they stay focused. If you disenfranchise them and you kind of lose them, if you like, in the beginning of that summer, you're toast. You're not toast in the test necessarily, because they might just switch it all on the day and go for it. It is an aptitude test after all, and great things can happen with no preparation, if you're quite bright. So do try and keep them engaged. Do try and make it as lively as possible. As the summer draws to a close and before the winter sets in and the evenings get dark early, start slowly introducing the questions, okay? Time trialing, getting that confidence built up. Don't start at 6 p.m, please. Don't do anything on a Friday. My mother, who's in the audience, so I'll be very careful what I say next, has been working in special educational needs for a very long time, and she won't let anybody book a session at her centre in Kensington after 12 p.m. midday on a Friday, okay? They're too tired. Don't do it. Right? The most efficient time to do it, the most effective time is probably Saturday morning. Sorry. But you may feel obliged to do something after school, but if you have to do that in the autumn term, please do it as early as you possibly can and shunt everything else to afterwards, because the later you leave it, the less effective it's going to be and the more counterproductive it is likely to be. The CEM test, on the other hand, is a bit of a dark horse, because that element comes in round 2 by and large, and there are exceptions to this, so please, don't, it's not all gospel, doesn't apply to everybody, but those that use the CEM test, it tends to be a round 2 test, and in that point, it's more of an assessment day. It's not just the test. You'll have the test, you'll have probably certainly one, more likely 2 interviews with senior staff. If you're applying to a boarding school, one of those will be a housemaster or a housemistress. You will, quite often now, you will do some leadership exercises. You'll get into groups and do some debating, maybe some public speaking. You might do a handwritten exercise, so they will take you off the computer. You might have to punctuate a bit of sort of grammatical text which hasn't been touched or capitalized at all. There's all sorts of elements on that day, and the CEM test is one of them. They do tend to be considerably tougher than the original Common ISCB. Okay, one school, for instance, as the question appears on your screen, as soon as it hits the screen, it starts to fade away. Another school will ask 40 questions in 8 minutes. Okay, they're not meant to be fun. They're meant to find brilliant people at that point. Bearing in mind, at this point, they've done the cull, whichever way they like it. Whether they've done a mini cull or a massive cull, they've culled. And so now they're looking to push that group and to see what floats to the top. All right? If you are selective, you're choosing. That's what the word means. So I find it quite funny when people using these highly selective tests start using language like, oh, it's not all about that, and there's other things we think about. Well, okay, cool, we'll scrap the test then. Let's just have the interviews like of old. So everything has a value. You'll never really know about the value of it. I would say that if you really had to sort of put a number on it, at the point of the Eton test, the Harrow test, the Marlborough test, most of them would like to think that the test itself, at that point, accounts for about 30% of the decision to accept your child. I mean, they're putting an arbitrary number on that just as much as I am, but that's probably not far off the truth in practice. Then it's 30 for an interview, 30 from your school reference, things like that. The reason these tests sort of came about is because people were getting a bit fed up of the common entrance. Also, schools had to wait for the common entrance right up until the June before children were going to arrive at the school, which, as you can imagine, in the day and age of thousands of applicants, makes for quite a serious logistical crisis. So they wanted to make some clearer decisions earlier so there wasn't that build-up, hence the pre-test. Originally, the tests were more about CEM. Common IEC BP test is actually relatively new. Originally, the CEM side of things was all there was, and there was a wonderful moment where an unnamed school introduced the Common IEC BP test to go in front of it and called it on their website until someone made a phone call and pointed it out, the pre-test. So luckily we've cleared all that up now. The common entrance is still around, although for the first time ever we've seen schools wholesale abolish it. Wellington's one, others are talking about it. I reckon in about 5 years' time you'll start to hear some prep schools ditching teaching towards it as well, even if their students still apply to places that use it. It's all 9 subjects examined over 4 days. It's a ludicrous exam diet, and it's a lesson in rote learning, okay? This is what these pre-tests are trying to avoid, because a good teacher will get everybody very good results in that common entrance if the students listen to what they're saying. It's eminently crackable, as long as you don't have any major memory problems.